It's been 2 years, man, of waiting, man. For my supporters and my fans, man, I know y'all been waiting. Now it's finally here.
In 2007, I saw my next guest live for the first time on Randos Island in New York City during the Rock the Bellas tour. He was on the Pay Dues stage. Of course, I played his music prior to back in college, but it was great to see that he wasn't just an incredible artist in studio, but put on an equally incredible live show. He's about to release his latest project with Ninth Wonder called The Iliad is Dead and The Odyssey is Over. He's Murs, and I want to welcome him to the live with Tim Heinekel. Thank you for joining me.
Thank you for having me, bro.
Cool.
Appreciate it.
Of course. So of course, I do want to talk about the new album, but I've always wanted to ask you a question about one of my favorite tracks by you, "Can It Be" off Murs for President.
Okay.
You released it, 2008, and on the track you used "I Want to Be Where You Are" by the Jackson 5. As an artist, right, and I presume as a fan of the Jackson 5, when you use a Michael Jackson-inspired track, knowing the allegations, how do you go about, separating, I think, the man from the artist? I mean, now that I have 2 kids, it's kind of, I realize he's such a soundtrack of my life growing up, that, is that a constant debate, like, do I play him for my kids? Do I not play him for my kids? How do you go about that?
Man, sheesh, man, this is a difficult thing. It's very difficult for me to acknowledge anything, and sorry, if it offends anyone, but it's very difficult for me to acknowledge, believe, or anything said by white people against black people. Mm-hmm. It'd be ludicrous to just take a white person's word against a black person's word. It's historically, and especially a black person in power. Mm-hmm. That said, I've heard from people of color close to him that he may have had issues,
Right.
So I don't, man. I treat it like the OJ case. I treat it like any other case. I tell people this: I've never known a black man in my life to face a white jury and get away with anything. But I've known many black men to face a white jury and get convicted of things that they never done. Right. But the American justice system is not in the business of letting black men free when they're guilty. Right. I know that Michael Jackson was tried in Santa Barbara, which is one of the richest white counties in America and in California. So it's just that particular story that's coming to light now is hard to believe. And at the end of the day, all I can do is go off of the music that I made. And hip hop is all about taking negative circumstances and making them positive. So if I were to believe he was guilty, I did the best I could with that song and made it into something positive. And for me, it's also, there's probably pain in that song regardless because, he was an abused child.
Right.
Which got glossed over and made into a TV epic, which I never watched. Right. I don't want to watch my hero be beaten and mistreated and children abused. But it was okay to broadcast that. I think if, in fact, his children were harmed, I think it's horrible. And I think it's horrible what happened to him. So, like you said, it's separating the music from the from the man and his history and his legacy, however tarnished or dark it is. I didn't take anything into account and use it like any other sample. I was blessed to be able, and also too, like when you look at that too, it's like sampling Motown sucks because nobody that played those instruments, nobody that wrote that song gets paid. Right. Joe Bett Publishing gets paid. So it's all fucked up if you start to think about it. All I think about is what am I going to do for myself and for now with that track, so I don't get into a lot of the histories or the sample base. On that album, I did get into something with James Blunt, who I read his Wikipedia, and we sampled him for a song, and I wanted to do something that honored him because that song meant something to him. And I looked into it. When it's something older like that, where I can't talk directly, and there's no way I was going to be able to talk to Michael Jackson or the person who wrote that song. Right. Could have been Smokey Robinson, could have been Sarita Wright, could have been Steve Wonder, who knew,
Right.
So when I can reach out, definitely I try to. And when James Blunt agreed to let us clear the sample, I definitely looked at his Wikipedia and like read what I could and like reached out to him. And once it was done and he was happy with it and agreed to do a video for it. But with Can It Be was just kind of me going for making the best of a dope beat and a song that, like you said, like regardless of all the history of the song, those songs are a part of our lives and our childhood.
And I kind of like, it's weird. The reason why it's one of my favorite songs on the album is because I just kind of pictured it. It was that opportunity kind of for you, or just as an artist to kind of, even though obviously you weren't on the original track of that song, it was kind of like you were on the track of that song during this particular track you did on Murs for President.
Yeah, I would definitely. And it was one of the last songs. Now that you bring that up, it was one of the last songs added. So I was at. That's why it's called $500,000 Later, because they were still making they spent $500,000 on me recording and flying all over the country, and advances and stuff to keep. They were keeping me off the road, so they're giving kind of like a salary to stay home. And I was just like, I was at my wits' end at that point. I think I wrote that in a hotel in Newport Beach.
Wow.
Just like at my wits' end. But also my publicist at the time, Richie Abbott, who was going on to become a friend of mine, listened to the record, and he's like, I know you. I've been out with you. I've been hanging out with you. And I don't hear anything on Murs for President that's like that, you. You need some songs. So I did The Science and Can It Be. Those were the two last songs I did for the record. I think both beats are by Scoop DeVille. And that conversation came back because I wanted to remake La Raza, and he said, nah, but you can take these beats.
I warned you earlier that I'm going to try to spit some of your lyrics, or just to say your lyrics, and I hope I don't do a bad job doing it. But on Can It Be, you spit, all these rappers want to talk about is guns and dope. Don't you they realize we're all at the end of our rope? The future all depends on the power of our quotes.
The power of a pen, the power of a vote, the power of your words, the power of your voice, the power of America's the freedom of choice. We choose to do nothing, we lose and we suffering. That is time to do something.
If you take these lyrics today, how in the current political climate, how relevant are they today? And then what do you think is the role of hip hop, but also rap music when it comes to politics or social awareness?
I think if we can go backwards, I think that the purpose of hip hop or any art is just to make you feel or think. I don't think it has any. It doesn't have to be righteous. It doesn't have to save the world. It's art, Mm-hmm. And then going back from that, I think it sucks that what I was saying is still relevant. But history repeats itself. Right then, we were kind of at the end of it, and it was when I was recording that album, Barack Obama was an idea, and through the course of that album, I'd already made him Murs for President, and then he decided to run, and it became weird. I was like, am I gonna fuck up his thing? You know what I mean?
Right, yeah.
Making a rap album, I was like, oh shit, there's a black candidate for president. When I named this album, we started this journey, there was not a such thing,
Right.
And I think he was saying he wasn't going to run still. It hadn't been announced yet. I think I started this in 2006. And, so that was weird, but we were just coming out of the George Bush era. And now we're back in America has a cycle like that. Every 8 years, every 2 years.
Yeah.
It's unfortunate, but now I think it keeps getting worse, and I think that's what happens. History repeats itself, and it's like if you walk in a circle and you're digging a deeper hole, you walk the same path, and now we're in a deeper hole. This is a level lower than or higher, however you want to see it, than George W. Or whatever the last George was. I don't know which was the George W. too.
Oh, it was George W. and there was George H.W. before him.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you. But yeah, I think it was a horrible time. And the funny thing is, I was talking to my wife about the other day. Like I started my album, and I always wanted to go back and change it. Because like there's kids dying in Sudan, and nobody gives a fuck. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And just now, like everybody's changing their avatar on IG and all this shit. And I was like, I've been talking about this for 11 years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was the first thing I wanted to say on my major label debut record, was something about those children. especially the children, but the people in general. And even that point, that's why I was so pro Joe Biden at the time. When the record came out, I was hoping Biden would win the election and Obama might be his running mate, because Biden, on an interview of all the Democrats, I think on Oprah or something, he was asked like what he would do to stop the problem in Sudan, and I was happy that the mainstream media was addressing it. And Obama and everyone else up there said, "Yeah, we're going to impose more sanctions." And then Joe stood up and was like, "Yo, fuck that. These people are thugs and they're gangsters and they're violent. And they don't only respect force. We need to go in and show great force and take immediate action because this is necessary. People are dying." Mm. And I liked his passion about it. Could have been faux passion. You know what I mean?
Right. But it was
like, you.
Yeah, it was actually raising the issue.
Yeah, and I was like, he's like, you can't impose sanctions, economic sanctions on a place where there's fucking no economy. It doesn't make sense.
Right.
Like taking nothing away from people, taking stuff away from people who have nothing to take away means nothing. It means that you feel good about saying you're doing something when you're not. So yeah, going back all the way back then, yeah, man, I thought it was important to say those words. I did those songs every weekend on Rock the Bells, and I tried to put that message out there. And that was the first video. Like I said, it was the last song in the first video, and it became the cornerstone of the album. It didn't make a difference. Who knows? Maybe there'll be a president 50 years from now that said they listened to that song one time and they liked it.
We turned this past March marked the 15th anniversary of Murs 316, the 9th edition, with you and Ninth Wonder, your album together. It was released under Def Jux Records. I'm sorry about that. When we think of labels, what record labels especially, what was the importance of Def Jux to your career, but also what do you think the importance of it was to the hip hop community?
Oh man, Def Jux was extremely important to my career. It was amazing that I was saying this in the interview the other day. I think it's fitting to say here. I think like LP did for me what like Chuck and the Bomb Squad did for Ice Cube.
Oh wow, yeah.
Like took a white West Coast kid and kind of like gave him a bigger platform. And LP reaching out to me when no one on the West Coast wanted to be friends with me, or help me out or give me a solo deal. He said, "Yo, I started this label, and I want you to put out a record, man. Come stay at my house. Come, here's, a little bit of a budget. This is the first time I had been in a real studio, been on a real, been in Best Buy. It is definitely a pivotal moment in my career, and that's why I named my first album The End of the Beginning, because it was the end of me making demo tape music and like, all right, I'm on a bigger stage. People are it wasn't the most money ever, but people were investing money into me, and I gotta make it count.
Hmm. I want to be, today marks the 5-year anniversary of the late Sean Price's passing. I was listening to Brighter Days, and you do actually, and you spit, you do say, "Man, I miss Sean P." or Sean Price.
Yeah.
What was, or for you personally, what was Sean Price's impact on you as an artist, but also, what have we lost in terms of his art by him not being here?
Oh man, we've lost one of the most. He was the kind of father that I wanted to be. Like the kind of rapper I wanted to, like the kind of rapper I am. Like when we hooked up, it was just like, it was cool, man. Like he had jokes, when we first hooked up, I met him first time, no one remembers, but I was 15 years old and they were doing a Smith & Wesson release party in LA. And he walked in and I was like, oh my God, he slapped me. He was so huge to me, especially being back then. I was like, oh my God, rock and rock. Oh, hell, you know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah.
And Session at the Dog Hill is one of my favorite songs, and his voice on there is amazing. And I was just in awe of him. And then I met him a couple years later at a show, and I heard he is when the like infamous Mike Tyson was getting worked on, and then come out, I was like, Mike Tyson, and I have a Mike Tyson tattoo. And I just ran up on him and showed him my tattoo, and he's like, "Yeah, cool." He's kind of like, And we were both backstage, and I was like headlining the stage. You know, he was headlining or playing on another stage. I was headlining another stage. I was like, I was pretty well known. I'm sure he knew me. He was like, all right, son, you know, nice to meet you. He was respectful, and I was a corrupt, so I think he was a little nicer. He probably would say, shut the fuck up or slap me. And then from, you know, I went in there, just friends. He was one of the many friends that I was happy about Rock the Bells and Tay-Deuce, where it became like a family union. He was one of the people I looked forward to seeing every weekend.
Right.
You know, me and my ex-wife rode the ferry with him and his wife, and it was just like a moment for me. I've had many moments with him that are probably not memorable to him, but memorable to me, you know?
Right, that's awesome.
I cut my hair. He's one of the first people that saw me that since I cut my hair, and I walked up to him, and I think I tapped him. And he, like, I had never seen that side of him. Like, where it was like, I thought he was about to slap, what do you say, Earth, Wind, and Fire. Like, I thought he was about to, because we were in Brooklyn. He was opening for Kendrick Lamar. Kendrick Lamar's, I think, first show in Brooklyn. I went to see K-Dot, so and I didn't think I was going to catch Sean. I saw him. I was like, yo, what's up? And like, you know, like a little tap on his shoulder or something. And he turned around. I was like, it's Murs. You know what I mean? He's like, oh, B, yo, what the fuck? You cut your hair? Yo, man, you know?
Yeah.
He gave me a lecture about not cutting my beard and so forth. And we laughed and we joked and it was all good. Before a split second, I was like, this is that Sean Price. This is the Decepticon Sean. Like, I'm like, oh, God. Man. He had me download a fishing app on my iPad that I got into because of him. Man, you know, he's one of the other people that I felt the need to like apologize to when I did the Animal Style song. Because a lot of my friends that are definitely more street and urban took a lot from like, that's your man's right there, kissing a man. You know what I mean? And so I wasn't apologizing for what I did. I was like, man, I'm sorry if you've had to, because I knew he was a person to, like, speak up and defend me. I think maybe someone had told me he had, you know?
Right.
And I was like, I'm sorry I put you in that position, man. And, you know, he's like, man, I know you're crazy nigga. Like, whatever, you weirdo motherfucker. You know, he's like, man, fuck out of you. Just so many levels, like, who he was. Then we could get into the music. Helter Skelter. Like I said, his personal session at the Dog Hill. The Sign is probably one of my top 2 favorite albums. Like, it's that and De La Soul is Dead. And that's my favorite verse on that album. And it's so short. And then when Helter Skelter came out, every Helter from the first Nocturnal to Dirt, just dope bars. Jesus Christ Superstar. I could go on, man. Just honest, simple, but complex, but just straightforward delivery, man, and authentic. He is who he says he is, and that's, you can't say that about a lot of rappers are who they say they are at times. You know what I mean? Right. Sean is who he says. Sean Price is who he said he was all the time. Yeah. Rest in peace.
Rest in peace. I want to turn to the new album, The Iliad is Dead and The Odyssey is Over. It's your 7th album with Ninth Wonder. How has your writing improved and kind of, or also been pushed throughout this, you know, all the albums, these collaboration processes, that you've done with Ninth Wonder?
It's been pushed just as an MC. I wanted to, like, every time there's a different element. The first time, his studio, Ninth is the kind of guy that has a lot of people around. And so the first time we were in the basement of his dentist office in North Carolina, and Fonte would be there some days, Pooh would be there, Sean Don, Dope Scudder, like, you know, MCs I had heard about and I respected, and grew to respect even more. But they're all, you know, and they're super, like, southern, East Coast vibes, and I felt like I had to represent for L.A. That's kind of when Murray's Revenge and 316, they're like, I felt I was, you know, and then, you know, especially with the second album, people are like, oh, you give Murs all the dope beats, and like, I didn't deserve them or some shit, and then, like, well, a lot of West Coast producers that didn't fuck with me started fucking with me because I fuck with Ninth, and I wanted to show them, like, yeah, you wish you had me on your beats. So I was definitely had a chip on my shoulder during those first 2 albums. And the next, the Sweet Lord was in his house. And the funny thing, Jada, who's J Def Beats, who did High Noon on the new album, she was just born. She was one or two, like my kid you hear in the background. And she was born, I think, at Murs Revenge. And then when we went back to this, we did the album every year around Thanksgiving for a while. And so she was in the house. So we didn't curse on that record because we decided not to. And then we were babysitting her most of the day. And, you know, I'm like, like it just became about writing stuff that kind of lasted. Like we kind of had built this legacy now. And it was, you know, like people love the first two records. And, you know, now we're just, you know, we're friends, we're family, you know, and it became about kind of like writing to document that. And I had really been studying Elton John and Bernie Taupin at the time. And I consider us kind of like that duo. You know what I mean?
Right.
Except for like opposite. Like I'm the L.A. flashy kind of, more flashy out there kind of guy like Elton John. And Bernie Taupin's a simple, you know, you can't take me out. You know, you can't take me in your penthouse. I'm going back to my plow. Like Yellow Brick Road, like it reminded me of that. Like he's the country dude, still lives in the same house he bought with his first rap money. Like, you know?
Mm-hmm.
And I'm the L.A. kid recording with him and that. So that was kind of the vibe of the third one, and I was kind of writing to kind of like to document that. And the fourth album was done in L.A. The fifth album was done in North Carolina. It was supposed to be the last one. And ironically, after that, 3 months later, I got a call out of nowhere to adopt my oldest son, and I had to go right back to North Carolina 3 months later and stay in the same hotel room. But which has nothing to do with my writing. But the Forever album was kind of like writing to bring Ninth into my vibe. It was more of a West Coast vibe.
Mm-hmm.
And having people like Corrupt, Sugar Free, Sick Jack, and Uncle Chuck on there, you know, really pushed me to like do stuff to be with people. I think Sick Jack is one of the best lyricists. Corrupt, one of the best lyricists. Sugar Free, they're the best lyricists on the West Coast. Trying to solidify myself maybe in our brand as also a West Coast legendary brand, not just a boom bap brand. And E. Jones contributed musically a lot to that record. And then Final Adventure was kind of just the end and getting over. And the first song is kind of easy, like in my Delusions of Grandeur, passing the baton to Rhapsody.
Right.
Kind of like Meek Mill. I'm not Meek, Jesus Christ. Memphis Bleak on Hard Knock Life Volume 2, I believe. That was that. It was kind of ending it. And then Brighter Days was very therapeutic. I was writing. That's just kind of new album, but the sixth album. It was just me going through the very beginnings of a divorce and a relationship falling apart. Just finishing a tour that was kind of shitty and weird, and it was just fucked up time of my life. And when he called and said, "Do you want to do a record?" I said, "Yeah, we can't really put it out there like that. I'm working on this deal, but he's like, I just want to do something with you." I was like, "Cool. No, I can't pick you up right now, love. I got to get this off." And but yeah, we just came around and just wrote from the heart on that one. And then this one was my wife saying, after everything we've been through, past few years have been divorce, being remarried, death of a newborn, our infant child, and birth of a new child. And my son was now, as you hear in the background, was about 5 months old. She said, just go to North Carolina 2 weeks, and just every other album you've done for the past few years has been a month's turmoil and chaos. Just go somewhere and write. And that's what I used to. On the first two albums, I was locked in a hotel room, and I would be listening to beats during the day with Ninth, and then I go to the hotel and write and come up with 2 songs and come back and record the next morning. I get to get away from that from 2 weeks. I missed them dearly, but I had to make it worth it because my wife had to work harder while I was gone, and I wanted to make it worth it. And the inspiration for this album was, I feel like the 2 best albums of this decade, hip-hop wise, came out of North Carolina, which is 2014 Forest Hill Drive, and Layla's Wisdom by Rhapsody.
Mm-hmm.
And I wanted to be in North Carolina and do something because I feel like there's great music coming out of there, from the artists there, from that place. And writing this time out because I was trying to make it worth it from being away from my wife and, also there's a gang of MCs in Jamla now, and at Bright Lady Studios that could be recording when I'm recording. They were literally waiting. There's MCs and singers and producers in that studio round the clock waiting for a room to come up open. There's only 2 rooms to record, and they gave me priority. But so whenever I wanted to go in, I was stopping someone else from creating. And I have respect, and all those artists are dope. So I was like, what I got to do in here has to be just as dope as or doper than what they're doing.
Right.
So I'm fucking up the rotation. And so I had that on. I put that on my back. And maybe unjustly, like, everyone's cool, but I felt that way. I was like, I got to come and contribute to this legacy, to this movement that's going on here. I got to put something down that's worthwhile. So all that is kind of drove my writing. Now, topic-wise, like, all of that is to say, when I hear the beat, I write whatever comes to me.
Okay.
Unless it's a song like Animal Style, which I've had in my mind for a long time, but it's rare. I'll hold on to a song until I hear the beat for it and have it written. But everything else, especially with Night, because there's a vocal sample, or he'll have a weird name for the beat, or I'll hear it and something will come up, or he'll say, you need to rap about that. And so, I can't really speak to, unless we want to go through all 70-something songs, as far as what led me to write specific topics. But that's the vibe of each album.
Actually, I want to talk about a couple of the tracks, but not in a way where I'm going to like have you break down everything you've done. The track Gas Station Gucci Belt, it features a sample from Rhapsody's You Should Know. And then you go to High Noon, another track, it actually features Rhapsody. One question is there a connection for you between these 2 tracks? And also, as you've said in a different album, Final Adventure, off the track, Get It Together, you said you declared Rhapsody is one of your favorite artists out there. So what is it about her and her art that kind of it makes her one of your favorites?
I have no idea. I mean, I think the fact that we know each other and we get along and we have, our homies helps, but I'm homies with a lot of rappers that aren't my favorite,
Right.
I just like the way she approaches. I like her work ethic. She definitely has been devoted to her craft. I've seen her growth, and that's inspiring to me. Her dedication and her level of how she's risen her skill up. She was dope to start. She's just got doper. I think that's it. And You Should Know is one of my favorite songs ever. And my oldest son's favorite song as well. So just having a chance to sample. And I knew it was a sample we could clear. We could clear.
Yeah, we kind of messed up if she pushed you not to clear it.
Yeah, exactly. That would be heartbreaking.
On the track on Night Shift, you spit, I wasn't making shit fill in the club because I wasn't talking about all the killing and drugs.
Yes.
Do you think, basically, why do you think that there is a push to put the music about killing and drugs into the club versus, I don't know, something else? Something you could say more empowering or more, storytelling in a way.
I think that rappers became self-important and people got started, I don't want to say, man, producers too, I think hip-hop that requires thought wanted beats that require thought and not so much more cerebral. The music became more cerebral as the MCs became more cerebral, and it kind of sectioned us off from the club music. And the club music is, as Kanye is saying, is very root chakra, you know what I mean?
Right.
So you kind of spit to that thing. It's definitely not the conspiracy label that labels, I was on a major label, and the president of Warner Brothers told me, you should put out Sweet Lord on Warner Brothers. That's your best music. You and I make the best music. I'll put that out right now and put all my money behind it. So the myth that they're forcing people to talk about that stuff is not true.
Right.
But unfortunately, it's a life a lot of people living or want to pretend that they live because this America, as we see, is in love with the bad guy. So much so that we put one in office.
Right.
Whether you think you're not, because you're anti-Trump, you're not part of the problem. You can be anti-Trump and still be a base level violent, you know what I mean?
Right.
Selfish human being. but there's a roots in that, in that type of music. A lot of rappers, what they rap about is more similar to what Donald Trump represents than what Barack Obama represents. And it unfortunately resonates with people,
right?
And if the people made the choice to listen to different things, then, record labels are just here to make money,
Right.
They wanted to sign 10 more Public Enemies and Public Enemies are selling records, I'm sure,
Yeah.
They're trying to copy the formula. They don't care. If we decide that we want to hear, but we're always looking for a skit. We're going to blame Donald Trump. We're going to blame the record labels when it's us. If we get out and vote and we decide that we want to make a better America, we can do it. And if we get out and, start listening to music, look at Kendrick Lamar. I don't think that he made a radio hit on purpose, but they had to start playing his music because he was the number one rapper in the world.
Right.
I feel like the radio came to him. The radio came to J. Cole,
Yeah.
He didn't make records for them, but they have to find a J. Cole record to play. Or otherwise they're irrelevant.
The track "Only Robin's Pocketbook" is to me is a very heartfelt track about what you kind of done throughout your career, the paid dues tour, putting your cats on and giving them a chance. And you kind of talked about it earlier, but looking back so far, what kind of roadblocks did you have to experience as a younger artist? And when did you kind of make the decision that you're not going to be that artist that puts roadblocks up for these younger artists?
Definitely, I made the decision when it was done to me, when I figured like, oh shit. And when I saw, like, I was talking to Kweli about it, like how, hey, motherfuckers will shout him out, you know what I mean? But on the West Coast, no one was shout. It's just weird. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so I wanted to do something for the people behind me. And, do unto others as you have them do unto you.
Right.
And not be bitter towards the OGs because they had their reason, But I feel like the industry didn't want a different version of the West Coast. America wasn't ready for that. When I used to rap in New York, I remember rapping in Rocksteady Park and battling people and serving a bunch of people, and dudes be like, nah, B, you ain't from the West Coast. That ain't no Warren G, son. That's some East Coast. That's some New York rhymes. Like, that's real hip-hop. And I'm like, bro, I'm from L.A.,
Right.
Where I'm from, that chose to rap like East Coast rappers and make those kind of beats that were, I don't know what to say, sounding like East, I call them six borough rappers,
Right.
So I wanted to make sure that I didn't do that. So that's why I wanted to create pages for folks like a KC Veggies or a Dom Kennedy or Kendrick or a Curtis King or a Schoolboy Q or Absol or Noah James. It'll be the bass guy,
I have just two more questions. As mentioned, this is your 7th album with Ninth Wonder. What has been some of the highlights for you during the recording process, but also kind of what has surprised you the most, I guess, about Ninth Wonder's creative process that maybe you just didn't realize that he did, whether it's a technical thing or, building a beat thing in front of you?
I guess his production style hasn't differed much. How fast he makes it. What's been amazing is seeing how the industry has come to him. Yeah. People used to make fun of him for making beats on a computer, and now everybody makes beats on a computer. Having things like Native Instruments cater to people who make beats on the PC or on a laptop or a computer has only, helped him excel and expand his brand. Now he's teaching at universities people how to make beats on computers. That's been amazing to me. And then like a personal anecdote is, like I said, if you listen to And I Love It on Sweet Lord, we're not yelling, but talking about Jada, her daughter as a toddler being crazy because she snuck downstairs in the middle of us recording and took a whole box of Cheerios and poured it on the table. And then when we got down there and said, Jada, stop. She looked at us and then scattered the Cheerios all over the room, all over the kitchen, and laughed hysterically. And then I have footage of her at the very same table playing the beat she made at 15 years old, 14 years old for my album. Very exact same table in the same house.
Oh, wow.
And I told Ninth, I was like, your career's over. She's way better than you already. A lot of people go, yeah, I got the Ninth Wonder. He should rap over. And I've heard so many people that are influenced or want to bite him. She's the real deal. And she's a monster. And so I was just blown away. But so that's like the biggest like holy shit moment I've had with Ninth Wonder.
That's crazy. Shit. Wow. All right, this is my last question. I appreciate your time. Thank you so much. So I'm turning 40 tomorrow. What can I expect for being 40?
Oh man, you're just gonna start having kids like I am. You're in for it. Do lots of yoga. Stay healthy.
Good point.
I suggest a vegan diet or some type of whatever's beneficial for your body, because it's a long haul. Yeah, man, I don't know. It's not what you thought it was. I don't feel as old as I thought 40 was. Being 41. Yeah.
Nope. New album is The Iliad is Dead and The Odyssey is Over. It's a Murs and Ninth Wonder new project. It's a great album. Comes out Friday, August 9th. Murs, it's truly been an honor to talk to you on The Library with Tim Heinegill. Thank you so much, man.
Thank you, Tim. Have a good one.
Every era has a Ja Rule, a little both. There's the shit you listen to and the shit you quote. I don't divide the lanes, I just stay in mine. And you can hear it when I hit the stage and say a rhyme.